everybody pretty much that accomplishes stuff has this practice in common. And the practice is something called pruning. Pruning. Now, I actually wrote a book on this called Necessary Endings. How do you know when to end something? Well, sometimes we end things, for a variety of reasons. The pain's too much. We can't take it anymore. We waited too long or whatever. But here's what we know about really, really successful companies, successful lives, people that do well personally, people that do well professionally. It's just like a gardener, all right? Just like a gardener. What does a gardener do? Well, unlike many of us, left unto me, what I used to do before I understood this is, kind of like I drive up to my house and I notice I can't see it anymore. The trees have overtaken it. Oh, we got to trim all this stuff back. And, you call the people and they come in and they hack everything off. Oh, I can see my house again. I can't see anything else. There's no leaves anymore, but they cut it all back, right? And we call that pruning. Well, that's really not pruning the way that pruning is supposed to be done. The way pruning is supposed to be done is you don't do it when everything is so bad that you can't see through it anymore. You do it, and here's the phrase I want you to think about. You do it as a regular discipline. A regular discipline. So what happens is, if you go and talk to a master gardener and they're growing a champion rose, for example, they start with a vision of what is this rose supposed to look like and what's the bush that's going to produce this champion rose going to look like. They start with a vision. So they're not pruning to cut stuff away. They're actually pruning towards a vision. I filmed an episode of Leadership University, which you can find on our website, in Tuscany with the #1 winemaker in the world. He won the greatest wine in the world like 2 or 3 times. And he walked me through the vineyards because I went to interview him about pruning and the science of pruning. And you know what? I didn't even prompt him. Here's what he said. You always prune towards a vision. What do you want the vine to look like? What do you want the vineyard to look like? So basically, you're cutting away everything doesn't fit the vision, or you're cutting away things that are going to keep the vision from occurring. And back to the rose bush, the way the gardeners do this, they don't do it when things are bad. It is a regular discipline. Regular discipline. So what does that mean? Well, that means the gardeners come in and they look at the bush, and regularly they're trimming. Now, they're not just trimming to make it look good, even though that's part of it. Here's what I want you to learn about your life. They're trimming because the vine, or the bush in this instance, the bush needs all of its resources to send to the best buds, the best branches, the ones that are going to be able to accomplish the vision of the best rose. That's where they want the resources to go. So what do? Here's what the scientists taught me. In fact, I went to some university, like botany people, and really, really, I knew this. They all said the same thing. The scientists said the same thing. They said three instances, 3 things. This is what we do. We have a vision of what we want the plant to look like, meaning your life. And then we ask the first question, there's a lot of good buds, they're healthy, they're growing, but they're not the best ones. They're not going to really be where we ought to be pouring the resources and the time and energy, meaning everything the vine or the bush can produce in our lives. It's time and energy and money and attention and all that. So they find the best ones and they trim away the good ones, even that are healthy, because they're not the best, and the bush needs those resources for the best. And the second one is, some of them are sick and they're not going to get well. They've done everything possible. They've sent them to offered to send them to rehab, done interventions, send them to therapy, fertilizer, you know, blow medicinal marijuana on them in California where I live. They've done everything possible, right? And some of those branches just don't want to get with the program, and they're not going to contribute anything. And so that's when they trim them. The phrase I used in the book was they're sick and they're not going to get well, okay? Because they don't want to participate in the process. And then the other branches are just dead stuff taking up space. Okay. Our lives are like that. See, when you have a vision of what you want a relationship to be, what you want your life to be, what you want your career to be, what you want your health to be, what happens? Well, there's a lot of ways we're spending our time and energy that might be good, but they're not the best use of that time or energy. Maybe I got 6 different hobbies that I'm involved in, but I realize in this next year, I really wanna grow in this one area, or I wanna advance my career, okay? Or I want to make my marriage stronger. Well, maybe there's a lot of couples we're hanging out with, but they're fine, good, all that, and different doing activities and going to these committees and that. But if we really want to focus on getting better in this area, we're going to need that Wednesday night or that Thursday night or these other things we're spending time on, even though they're good. You know what? We're going to take a year and we're going to drop out of the soccer league or the bowling league or going to that concert and we're going to take that time and energy and money and we're going to spend it on going to this couples group or taking this online class about growing my business or my sales or go to a Dave Ramsey get out of debt group or something. It's not that other things in our lives aren't good, but maybe they fit a season in the past, but they don't fit where I'm working on and going right now. And I need to prune some of that stuff from my time and energy calendar and spend it on what I'm trying to do to accomplish my vision. That might be another night you could go to Weight Watchers or something, or to the gym or to the university or whatever. Where do you want to spend it? On good stuff or the best, where your values and your future are? Secondly, there may be some things that are just dysfunctional, they're sick, nobody wants to get with the program, and maybe those are just it's like an addict. What do? When they want to get sober, the stuff that's sick, it's not going to get well. In other words, they got a bunch of friends that are addicted and they're not interested in getting sober. Well, they have to lose their numbers, right? Because that path they're heading on is a sick path and it's not going to get better because they're not wanting to get better. Had a lot of singles call in on this show and they recognize this guy or this woman, they're just dysfunctional and I'm growing and they just have no interest in getting better. Okay. I just can't continue to do. Okay. And then just the dead stuff that's taking up space. So here's what I want you to look at. And we do this all the time as a discipline. It's not because things are wrong, it's all the time. I mean, sometimes you have to realize I had a friend that bought a company one time. It was about 25 million in sales or so. It was a small company. And he grew it to 500 million. He grew it to 500 million in about 4 or 5 years. I asked him how he did it. He said, I looked at everything the company was doing. He said, and I realized the life of the company, the future of the company was in about 25% or 20%. He said 20, I think, 20% of its activities. And he said, and I got rid of the other 80% so I could have all those people and all that money and pour all those people and all that money into the 20% because that's where the future was and the life was. And I had to get rid of all that stuff. And I said, oh, so it was all losing money? And he said, no, it was all profitable. At 80% it was good, it was fine, but it wasn't where I really should have been focusing to build the future. And he said, that's how I did it. Basic pruning. Okay. So look at life, look at the different categories. Where am I spending time and energy that doesn't fit my future vision? The book Necessary Endings starts out with the question, today may be the biggest enemy of your tomorrow. Meaning things we're involved in today may be what is holding us back from where we want to be tomorrow. So time to think about it, evaluate it. We can do future shows on then what happens. Because you start to get scared, right? Oh, I can't tell those people I can't be in that group anymore. It'll hurt their feelings. Oh, lions and tigers and bears, conflict. People will be mad at me. Well, sometimes that's going to happen. We'll talk about that another day. Right